Hey there and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited about today's video because we are talking about how to get started with the CMEC. If I had a penny for every time I got a message from a mother who wanted to sign up for the CMEC and then she signs up and she's so excited and then she realizes there's quite a bit of work to be done in a good way. So my hopes with this video today is that I can just give you a few useful tips for getting started and just give you like a good list of things to begin with. Because I know that 2 years ago when I signed up for the CMEC, it was July and I didn't have a ton of time to prepare, but I knew I needed some guidance. And so there wasn't a lot out there about the CMEC 2 years ago. So here are some of my helpful tips for getting started with the CMEC. So the first thing you want to do when you sign up is obviously log in, take a look around at the website, get yourself familiar. There's a wonderful wealth of resources on their website. I still have not even scratched the surface with the amount of courses that the CMEC offers, and there really is just so much goodness there. So take a look at that. But as far as planning for your school year, here's what you need to do. So tip number 1, print off your form guides. And if you are a CMEC member, you will receive the form guides here. All you have to do is find the grade that your child will be in. So obviously, when I started, my daughter was in Form 1B, which is first grade. Some of you might be signing up as a Kinderleben family and you want to just really look at that Kinderleben guide. There's a guide for every single grade. So print off your form guide and your shopping list. Put them in a binder with tabs. And I actually have, this is my binder from this year, and you can see it's like full of things. So there's a ton of stuff in here, but you definitely want to get yourself organized. Organization with a homeschool mom is key, you guys. So print it off, put it in a binder, and then make sure you have tabs and dividers. I have a video on my CMEC binder from my first year. And so I'm gonna link that in the description for you. You can check that out. The second thing you wanna do is you wanna look at your shopping list and you wanna see, what do I need to purchase? Because you have a list of fun books that you get to read and wonderful literature throughout the year with your children. And each grade has their own shopping list. So on the shopping list, I like to color code my books. So I'll go through, and on this list I have yellow means already own. So I already have that book in my bookshelf back here. The purple highlighter, I would highlight it in purple if I needed to purchase that. And then as they arrive, I check them off with a pink highlighter. So then I'm very organized as far as what I need to order, what I already own, and what has arrived after I've ordered it. It is such a simple way to keep yourself, like your brain, from going crazy with all the books, especially if you have multiple students in multiple grades. So like I said, tip number 3 is order your books and check them off as they arrive with a specific highlighter color. In this case, I highlighted mine in pink. And then once all of my books arrive, I store them in a special spot in our shelf for next year's books. And I've already ordered almost all the books we're using next year, because it is in fact the end of June. So it's almost time to start pre-reading, and we'll get to that in a minute. But yes, if you organize your books in a special spot, then you know exactly where they are when you go to pull it for pre-reading time. Okay, tip number 4, read through your form guide. So there's a few different things. There's the shopping list, quick view of the program, right? They've got the knowledge of God, knowledge of man, knowledge of the universe. And then there's the more in-depth guide, and it's several pages long depending on what grade you're in. If it's a Kinderleben guide, that thing is massive. If it's the Form 1B guide, also very massive. Really, that's all I've been through is the Form 1 guides, but I'm sure the Form 2 and 3 and 4 and so on are amazing. So much information in there. Read through that and highlight all the things you need to highlight. Like it will help you when you're glancing through it during the school year, specific subjects. It talks about how to implement a lesson. And then there's separate guides too, like the geography guide, or there's a modern language guide, a hymns and folk songs guide. There are guides galore. So that is why I suggest when you print them off, you put them in a binder and label where they are in your binder. It will keep you organized. Okay, how many times can I say organization is key in one video? Okay, so tip number 5, make a pre-reading plan for the summer and then begin pre-reading while working on the next few steps simultaneously. So you have to pre-read all through the summer. I pick one subject per week, and I'm going to talk about that in a separate video on how to pre-read. So I'm going to link that for you in the description. But what you want to do is really get yourself to a point where you're pre-reading, but you're also doing a couple things on the side, like to-do items, and we'll talk through those in just a minute, what those steps are. But you need to make a pre-reading plan. And in the pre-reading video, I talk about how to make a pre-reading plan and how to get started pre-reading. So tip number 6, make a term planning sheet. This was so helpful to me because whether you use the CMEC or Ambleside or Alviary, whatever it is out there that's Charlotte Mason based, there are a ton of good extra riches, right? There are a ton of enrichment subjects: composer study, artist study, art instruction, piano, solfege, the list goes on. How do you keep yourself at a point where you are making sure you're hitting those subjects each week? Aside from entering them into your timetable, you want to create a little term plan. And I made this just on my own based on the selections from the CMEC for last year. And I make one per term, and it is helpful if you do it at the beginning of the year. And then each term, when you're starting to begin like a new term, I would just revisit it and make sure that we hit all of the things we had planned for. So I shared this in my motherhood community. There's a version of it that people can download and use, and you can see exactly what is on there. And so if you are interested in joining that, there's a link to the description below that you can see my term planner. Number 7, formulate your morning timetable. And I already have a video on our Form 1B timetable from 2 years ago. My oldest daughter, is now in Form 1A upper. And I have a Kinderleben student as well. So still just one student in formal lessons, but I do share my timetable each year. I shared last year's timetable and I shared our Form 1B timetable. So go check that out. But you do need to get your timetable made as you're pre-reading. So kind of just keep a to-do list of ongoing things that you want to do. That master to-do list is going to be so helpful. And so on it are things like making the term planner, getting your timetable formulated, setting up your mother's logbook. That's our next tip. I have my logbook here, and I used only one for Form 1B, and then I realized I could fit 2 years into this logbook. So I have a video on my logbook, and I also have a more in-depth video on my logbook in my motherhood community. But there is one linked to YouTube as well from our first year. Our second year, I shared my logbook in our motherhood community. So I will link both of those for you. But setting up your logbook beforehand is going to take all the back to school stress off of you. You definitely want to have that. Tip number 9, plan out your common subjects. And this is really the term planner that I talked about. But aside from planning out, okay, we're going to listen to this composer this term, and here are the 6 songs, and here are the ways we're going to break it up throughout the week, or I'm sorry, throughout the 12-week term. Or a 10-week term. Some are 10, 12, 11, just depends on the family, right? But what you want to do is also read through those artist and composer study guides from the CMEC. They are so helpful. Do that beforehand. Don't save it for the week of when you need to sit down and do a composer study lesson 20 minutes prior. Don't do it. I've been there. I promise you, you want to prepare as much as you can this summer while you have a lot of free time. So go through those paintings, listen to the songs. I make playlists on Spotify in addition to using the YouTube playlists the CMEC provides. I find that the Spotify is just easier. I prefer not to use a ton of video media in our lessons for now. I'm sure that'll change as my kids get older, but right now I like being able to just switch on the song and having us listen to it, or sometimes we listen to it during lunch. Speaking of, I have a video coming up on how to fit in common subjects, so look for that. That's going to be a good one. Okay, so yeah, you'll be able to cover those common subjects, those family style subjects, a lot more enthusiastically if you're familiar with them already prior to teaching them. Trust me, I know from experience. Last tip, read through any of your additional guides. Like I mentioned, the Modern Language Guide, the Folk Song and Hymn Guide, the Common Subjects Guide, the arithmetic program that you select. You want to make sure you look through that arithmetic program beforehand, before you sit down to teach your first lesson. Look through your reading instruction program, especially if you're Form 1B. Your reading lessons are going to be a little bit more intense than they will be in the Form 1A, at least in my experience. Prepare for Swedish drill. We haven't even talked about that yet. Swedish drill is wonderful, but you want to be prepared. Additionally, plan for art instruction. A little tip really quick, and this is like my last thing that I'm going to talk about in this video because it's long. Definitely make sure that you set a realistic goal for the art instruction part of the Charlotte Mason feast. I found that I tried to do clay work and brush drawing and chalk drawing all at the same time my first year, my first term, and it just wasn't realistic, and I found myself getting frustrated. Why can't I complete these lessons and do all this on top of it? My biggest tip for moms, especially those that are new to the CMEC, new to teaching formal lessons, is just to really take it as slow as you need to. Give yourself grace, but also on the same token, you want to make sure that you're hitting those subjects that you want to make sure you're hitting. You chose Charlotte Mason. You chose to teach your child using this philosophy and this method because you were drawn to those extra beautiful, enriching subjects. You were drawn to the living books and all of the beauty that a Charlotte Mason education offers. But you have to do the work, and it does require a lot of us moms, but I promise you, I can say this from true experience. This is my third year preparing for a homeschool year, and this has been the smoothest year so far, and thank goodness, because I have a baby coming in just a month or two. And so I really do, I'm thankful that I learned something every summer that I learned to prepare and get ready. So you guys, I just want to encourage you today, if you are new to the CMEC, you're nervous, even if you're not even a member yet and you're thinking about joining, I have a frequently asked questions video about the CMEC that I'll link to. If you guys are nervous or just like overwhelmed, I hope that this video provided some peace for you. And just remember that, you know, the Holy Spirit guided you to homeschool. He guided you to the Charlotte Mason philosophy, and he will guide you through your homeschool journey. So good luck, and I wish you the best. If you have any questions at all, let me know, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.